Welcome, everybody, to the NFL Draft Geeks Prospect Review. I'm Brian Johannes. I'm here in the spacious Draft Brian Studios, and we're back for week 2 of our prospect review. If you didn't see last week's, what I like to do is kind of hit up the how each the top prospects did in their this week's showing. So I'm just going to kind of go through and hit up those big games, those top prospects, and just kind of give you some highlights and just kind of how they did overall. So let's just go ahead and get started. Probably the biggest matchup was Texas A&M versus Clemson. Clemson ended up winning 28-26. A&M missed a 2-point conversion that would have won the game. The star of the show was Clelin Ferrell. He had 2 sacks, 3 quarterback hurries, another tackle for the loss. Texas A&M couldn't stop him. He was coming off the edge, showing power, showing speed, speed around the edge, power to go inside. He was a monster for them. They couldn't stop him. He's still my second-rated edge pass rusher. I have him as top 5 rated talent. He's a stud. Only a junior. More than likely, probably going to declare this year. Definitely a player to keep an eye on. We move on to the Oklahoma versus UCLA game. Oklahoma won 49-21. It kind of came at a cost. They lost 2 players that had to leave early. Marquise Hollywood Brown, he had 88 yards receiving a touchdown. He had a big 58-yard catch on a short hook route where he took that to the house. He ended up leaving the game early. Be anxious to see what happened to him. The bigger loss was Rodney Anderson, their running back. He's my 3rd-rated back in this class. He only had 6 carries for 19 yards. He left it early in the first quarter with a leg injury. It didn't look good. I've heard reports that he broke his leg. There's reports that he tore his knee got tore up. He did walk off the field on his own power. So I would think if it was a bad break, maybe he wouldn't be doing that. I don't want to speculate. I just hope he's healthy. Regardless of NFL draft or anything, you don't want people to get hurt. And so, we're sending our well wishes to Rodney Anderson. Hopefully he's okay. Also in that game, he kind of got overshadowed. Caleb Wilson had 4 catches for 92 yards. He's one of the better tight ends in this class. You got Noah Fant. He's way up here. The next tier is a guy like Caleb Wilson. I think he could be a day 2 pick, a big tight end, a guy that can make plays down the field, good hands. So he definitely had a good showing, about the only one for UCLA. Ball State Notre Dame played. This game was significant because of Riley Neal. Riley Neal's Ball State's quarterback. He's my number 5th rated quarterback in this class. A guy that's got ultra talent. He's got some injury issues. Notre Dame was going to be the best defense he played. So this is a significant game for his stock. It's kind of not the greatest. 23 for 50, 180 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions. He didn't play awful. He didn't play that great either. So this will be a game that I can't wait to dive deep into, really kind of see where how he actually, did. It's one thing to watch it. It's one thing to see the highlights. But when you can have that tape and you break down stuff and you rewind it and watch plays over and over again, you really do see it. And this is going to be the tape that a lot of scouts, a lot of teams go to right away when they want to see Riley Neal as a quarterback. So it's a very important game for him. Sticking with that game, Trayvon Coney, Notre Dame's top linebacker, he was all over the field, 14 tackles, a sack, 3 tackles for loss. Here's a guy that's just a downhill thumper, run and chase linebacker. So he's definitely had a big game. I know it was Ball State, but he was all over the place. Moving on, USC versus Stanford. We had Stanford win 17-3, continuing to insert their dominance as the team to beat in the Pac-12. USC just looks like they're continuing to struggle. They struggled with UNLV the week before. The story here is Bryce Love, 22 carries, 136 yards, a touchdown. After getting kind of shut out against San Diego State, he really bounced back against a poor USC rushing attack, and just kind of said, hey, don't forget about me. I know I didn't even get 50 yards against San Diego State, but he's showing that burst, he's showing that speed, the ability to navigate through traffic. Don't forget about Bryce Love, my fourth-rated running back in this class. Moving on to West Virginia won 52-17 over Youngstown State. Will Grier continues to be probably the hottest and the best skilled quarterback so far. And I say skilled, I mean he's had the best season to this point. He was 20 after shredding Tennessee, and I put out some clips on my YouTube, my Twitter and Instagram pages. He sliced and diced them, threw the ball with good accuracy, good ball placement. That continued again today. 21 for 26, 332 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have an interception, but so far, Will Grier's, I think, been playing the best out of any of these quarterbacks that are draft eligible. So really kind of keep an eye on him. He's getting those Baker Mayfield comparisons. So just really keep an eye on him. He's making a stake for the Heisman, and he's trying to say, hey, I'm the best quarterback in this 2019 draft class. Speaking of quarterbacks, Mississippi State traveled to Kansas State. They won 31-10. This was Nick Fitzgerald's first action of the 2018 season. He was suspended for that season opener. He came out against K-State may not have a ton of NFL draft prospects on their defense, but they're always a tough team to play. But he kind of struggled. 11 for 27. He's never really been a great accurate thrower. He only had 154 yards, but he did throw 2 touchdowns and an interception. And he added in 159 yards rushing. So he's trying to prove that he can be the next Dan Mullen quarterback to really kind of excel. It's looking like maybe he's going to be he's not going to be the next one. So he's got to show better accuracy. He's got to show that he's more than just a big physical runner. The big matchup in this game was between Kansas State's offensive line and the Mississippi State defensive line. Guys like Jeffrey Simmons, the defensive tackle, and Montez Sweat, the defensive end. They dominated this game. Simmons only had 4 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and a quarterback hurry, but he was just manhandling Kansas State offensive linemen, these interior guys, just driving them back, and just kind of using that brute strength and some burst to really wreak havoc into the Wildcat backfield. Sweat had a sack and a quarterback hurry, but his stats don't tell you all. He was another guy that was really just whipping up and, had a better game. And the stat sheet's not going to tell the whole story, but he had a good game against Dalton Reiser, who's considered one of the best offensive linemen in this upcoming NFL draft. And, he's probably better suited. Reiser's probably better suited to play inside at the next level. And I think this game kind of showed that also. Michigan bounced back after their loss to Notre Dame and won 46-3 over Western Michigan. Shea Patterson was a little bit more efficient, 12 for 17, 125 yards and 3 touchdowns. He didn't have a huge stats because Michigan was running the ball so well. Kron Higdon, 13 carries, 156 yards. He had a 67-yard touchdown run, as you're seeing in the highlights. Higdon is just a smooth runner. He's not going to be flashy. He's not going to be that, a first-round draft pick. But he just gets the job done, and he's able to hit the holes. He's able to reel off chunk yards. He's going to be a valuable back to an NFL team come the future, and he's showing that for Michigan as really being their best offensive player. I broke down Patterson's tape against Notre Dame this past week. It was in my scouting notes up at NFLDraftGeek.com. I thought he played better than he was getting credit for, but my thought of him being the number 1 quarterback in this class and a potential top 10, top 15 pick, maybe not looking like that's going to happen at this point. Speaking of another quarterback, we have Oregon throttling Portland State 62-14. Herbert, after going 10 for 20 last week, and he put up 5 touchdowns, but his accuracy wasn't the greatest. He bounced back 20 for 26, 250 yards, and another 4 touchdowns. He's one of those guys. He's got all the talent in the world. Is he going to be able to put it together? This was a much better showing for him, but it was against a little bit weaker competition. I can't wait to see him in conference action. Can't wait to see him against a better defense, and I just want to see him be more accurate. With Northwestern versus Duke, we had two quarterback battles going on. Daniel Jones, the junior quarterback for Duke, was going against Northwestern senior Clayton Thorson. Thorson was 22 for 38, 198 yards and interception, whereas Daniel Jones was 16 for 22. He had 162 yards but 3 touchdowns. Jones looked like the better quarterback in this matchup. He was more accurate. He made more plays. And he's looking like a guy that you really need to keep an eye on. Now, he did leave early. He had a clavicle. He left the game with a clavicle injury, so that's something to really kind of keep an eye on. Your collarbone, that's pretty important when you're a quarterback. So, really got to keep an eye on that. I think he's a guy that could really work his way up into this top of the quarterback rankings. It's not an elite group. You got your Justin Herberts, your Will Greers. Shea Patterson's probably slipping a little bit. I mean, Drew Lock's up there. But keep an eye on Daniel Jones. A lot of these top quarterbacks that get drafted, the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks, there's always one that seems to come out of nowhere. No one at this point last year was thinking Baker Mayfield was going to be the number 1 rated quarterback. 3 years ago, no one knew who Josh Allen was. Daniel Jones, even if he doesn't declare, he's only a junior, could be the next quarterback, a big-time quarterback that we hear that no one's talking about right now. Couple more games. We had Buffalo versus Temple. Buffalo won that game 36-29. The story here was Anthony Johnson. He's my number 1 ranked receiver right now. I don't know if that's going to stick. I need to watch more tape on him. But he was electric here. 6 catches for 76 yards and a touchdown. He had a highlight reel grab to get into the end zone. Here's a guy that can catch everything. He can make those tough catches. It's going to be curious to see how he separates, and that's what's going to separate him from the other receivers that are out there. One being N'Keal Harry, who's the last game that we're going to talk about. Michigan State traveled out to the desert against Arizona State. Late night game, 9:45 here, Central Standard Time, and Arizona State got the win. And it was funny when Herm Edwards was hired. A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, is this, even me, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work. He hasn't coached in college for so long. He hasn't been a coach for several years. A lot of what they were going to do, this NFL-style management system, and you almost got laughed at. And they're 2-0 this week. They got a great win over Michigan State. The guys are playing well. And N'Keal Harry's my favorite receiver in this class. There's only a matter of time before he gets vaulted up to my top-rated receiver. This guy's an absolute stud. Michigan State was able to hold him in check. He only had 6 catches for 89 yards, but he had a touchdown at the end, towards the end of the 4th quarter, to give Arizona State the lead. Going up and making a contested catch, be able to come down, make a move to get in the end zone. Definitely a top elite level athlete, elite level receiver. We saw him the week before making a catch, eluding. He had 5 guys around him at one point, and he was able to get out of that, sprint to the opposite side of the field and get a touchdown. Now we're showing his contested catching ability. There's not a whole lot that N'Keal Harry can't do, and I think he's going to be a top 10 pick when it's all said and done. Michigan State, they don't have a whole lot of prospects. LJ Scott. But Brian Lewarke is the guy to kind of keep an eye on. A junior quarterback, 27 for 39. He had 314 yards, a touchdown and interception. The numbers are there, but just the production, the production was there, but you would have liked to see that kind of convert into some touchdowns. 13. This was a big game for him. Arizona State doesn't have an elite defense. They have a couple guys to kind of keep an eye on. You would have liked to see him do a little bit better in this game, if you're going to consider him one of the top quarterbacks. And as of right now, I have him in my top 5. But once again, it's kind of a real fluid situation this early. Plus, it's not the greatest quarterback class. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. We're going to do these weekly, Saturday or Sunday, Mondays. Put them out there. Review the top prospects out there in the NFL draft and how they're doing each week. Make sure the best way to get these is to subscribe here on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. If you're, I put the audio of these out on the podcast, so if you're listening on the podcast, check out the video. I put highlights in there. you're watching this now, subscribe to the podcast, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher. Not only do you get these, I try to put out a couple podcasts throughout the week. I just did my NFL picks, and I try to do a couple a week. So make sure you're subscribing there. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at draft_Brian. Follow at NFL Draft Geek on Twitter also. Make sure you're hitting up NFLDraftGeek.com. These videos will be up there. We have player rankings up there, mock drafts, scouting notes, NFL reverse power rankings, weekly NFL draft stock watch. Lots of stuff out there. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy, and hopefully you had a good college football Saturday.